This lesson will be a short one. We'll be looking at the distance and midpoint formulas. Our objectives will be to calculate a distance between 2 points using the distance formula, and to calculate the midpoint between 2 points using the midpoint formula. Let's begin by talking about the distance formula, and let's look at what it means to use that. If I give you 2 points, -1, 3, and 4, -3, what I'm asking you is to find the distance between those 2 points. Or another way of looking at that would be to ask what is the length of the blue line that you see on the screen. In order to find this, I'll need the distance formula. The distance formula is equal to the square root of x sub 2 minus x sub 1 quantity squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 quantity squared. To help us use this formula correctly, it would be to our advantage to label our points. So let's do that. Let's label this one x1, y1 for point 1, and this one x sub 2, y sub 2 for point 2. Now what we need to do is plug these into the formula. When we do that, you'll notice I placed the -1 in parentheses. I think that'll help you with your signs. What we have here is 4 minus a -1 quantity squared plus -3 minus 3 quantity squared. The next line for that looks like this. D is equal to 4 minus a -1 becomes a 5, so it's 5 squared, plus -3 minus 3 is a -6, so we'll also square that. Our next line then is D is equal to the square root of 25 plus 36, which means D is equal to the square root of 61. This is not a perfect square, so the best thing we could do at this point would be to approximate our answer using the calculator. Notice that when we write it, we use the sign for approximate, since 7.81 is a rounded number. The next thing we'd like to look at is the midpoint formula. Let's keep our same 2 points, -1, 3, and 4, -3. But this time what we're looking for is a midpoint. I'm looking for the location, and it's somewhere right around in here that is the middle of this line, the midpoint. It would help us to have a formula to do that, and here it is. It is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. Another way you can remember that is that it's the average of the x values and the average of the y values. Let's once again label our points. We have x1, y1, x2, and y2. We now need to plug these into our formula. And when we do that, we get -1 plus 4 divided by 2, comma, 3 plus a -3 divided by 2. That gives us a point 3/2, comma, 0 over 2, or 3/2, comma, 0. 3/2 is nothing more than 1 1/2, let me remind you. So what we have calculated here is the midpoint of 3/2, comma, 0. That location, if we actually graphed it, is right here. So what that tells us is that the point I've just drawn there is indeed the midpoint of that line segment. I know that it may look obvious to you on this one, but they won't always look that way, and so this formula is very helpful to calculate the midpoint. I told you it would be a short one, and that's all for today. See you soon for the next lesson. Bye-bye.